Thank you to today's Patreon sponsors, Minnesota Wax, Yacht, and Dr. Dread. Their support is really appreciated. Hello everyone, my name is Andrew AJT, and I just posted a poll the other day that with the announcement of Mario 3D All-Stars, would you guys be okay with this Tuesday's video being a commentated Super Mario 64 playthrough? And I just feel like playing it and sharing some memories, and you guys said yes in pretty resounding numbers, as this guy said down here. So for a special occasion, let's play some Mario 64. We'll get back to OSRS next week, of course. So I couldn't decide what to do, so I'm actually going to do a Mario 64 70-star speedrun. And speedrun is in quotes. This is more like a fun run. I have a timer at the bottom left, and I'll be trying to go as fast as I can for the most part. But don't take this very seriously, this is just a kind of fun speedrun. In fact, there's actually some pretty bad gameplay in this, and I didn't do any sort of planning whatsoever. I just went into it YOLO and didn't really have a route or anything. So I just want to try to beat the game in under an hour and 45 minutes. That was the goal I set before the run, so we'll see if I can do that. This run was kind of a train wreck, but there were some good parts as well. And I'm not going to be commentating like every single thing that happens. There's a lot I want to talk about with Mario 64. If you saw my video, which I'll link down below, my top 10 favorite games, this was my 4th favorite game of all time, and it was actually the first game I ever played when I was very young, and I got my Nintendo 64, and this game along with it, which I still have the box and all that. It's one of my favorite games ever, and it's a very special game to me. This is, of course, post-commentary, if you couldn't tell. I was thinking of doing live commentary, but I figured that would be kind of difficult to tell stories at the same time while trying to figure out a 70-star route. And I'm not like a casual player either. I would say my skill level for this game is about average. I used to speedrun 16-star back in the day for fun, maybe like 2008. But really, I got involved in the kind of advanced area in this game in maybe like 2006, 7, and especially 2008 on GameFAQs. We used to look for speedrunning strats and glitches and PLJs and all sort of advanced techniques and skips for this game. We used to also do these things called video quizzes, where it would be like record yourself doing a certain challenge and you would get points for every one that you completed and uploaded. One of my first YouTube videos is actually getting to the tip top of the castle in Mario 64. I think I uploaded that in 2007, so Mario 64 is also how I started making videos, coincidentally, and we're still doing it in 2020. I think that's pretty cool. But anyways, by the way, this commentary is kind of going to be not in one take, but I'm not going to do a million takes either. You know, usually for a 10-minute video, I really fine-tune the commentary, whereas this one I wanted it to be more raw, where I'm just kind of watching this playthrough or speedrun with you guys. So I apologize in advance if the commentary is not up to the normal standards, but I just wanted to do a different style for this one, and it's probably good practice for me anyways. The video about getting to the top of the castle wasn't part of the video quiz, it was just something I always liked to do as a kid. I always was like obsessed with trying to get on top of the castle, because I could never get 120 stars to unlock the cannon, at least not until I was older, of course. But anyways, there actually is ways to get on top of the castle without 120 stars. There's actually several. There's a couple little advanced techniques that are important in this game. If you've never seen speedruns, I'll try to explain some things. For example, if you double jump onto a hill, you can actually triple jump on the hill. So I'm not sure if I do it here, but you might see it. And there's another advanced technique as well, where if you hold the A button, you can actually do these kicks. Here it is, the triple jump. If you hold the A button, you can do these kicks while pressing B, just by tapping B, and that actually lets you go up slopes as well. There's also a trick here where you can actually wall kick off of something and then hold back and grab the ledge, so it gives you a little bit of extra height there, which is pretty useful. Before I got into the speedrunning and glitch hunting aspects of this game, I really liked messing around with GameShark codes. There's this guy Yoshi Electron who used to make these videos where you could play as other characters, and it doesn't actually change anything, it's just cosmetic, but I always thought that was really cool. I like games where you can play as other characters, and you can only play as Mario in this game, so I always thought that was really cool to mess around with. Of course, there's L is real in this game, which maybe I'll get into. We have some time, so I can talk about that, but using normal gameplay, you can't play as any other characters in this game, is what I'll say for now. So this is being played on the Wii Virtual Console, which is my favorite version. I still have my N64 and my copy of this game that I got as a kid, but I like the Wii Virtual Console version the best for a few reasons. The controls are very nice. You can use a GameCube controller, which is my favorite controller ever made, I would say. And you can also have much better resolution. The resolution on this game on the VC is 480p, and on the N64 it's 240p, so it doesn't look quite as good on the N64. Of course, the N64 version is classic, but the N64 controller is not really amazing. It's actually fine. People complain it's like uncomfortable or feels weird to use. I think it's fine, but the problem is the analog sticks really wear out very quickly, so they become almost unusable after a decent amount of use, and people make special versions or replacement versions, but it's just kind of tedious to have to depend on that, whereas with the Wii VC you can just use the GameCube controller. But unfortunately, for some reason, for speedrunning this game, there's almost like a stigma around the Wii Virtual Console version. In most speed games, like for Ocarina of Time, you can just run on whatever version is fastest and no one will think twice about it. This was really close, by the way. He was like halfway charging at me. But for this game, if you don't run it on N64, people don't take it as seriously, which I don't really agree with. It's really the only game that I know of that's like this. It'll be interesting to see if people switch to the Nintendo Switch version when that comes out. I don't actually have a Switch, though. So, I didn't actually have a route plan, like I said, so normally when I play this game I just go for all 120 stars. Not necessarily all in one sitting, but that's just how I play it. And because we're going for 70 stars here, I wasn't really sure what stars to get and which stars to avoid. Or not go for. Avoid really isn't the right word there. You guys can see that I suck at talking when I just have to talk for a long period of time. Anyways, so I had three choices. I could have done 16 star, which you use a few glitches in to beat the game early. I could have done 70 star, which is what I went with, or I could have done 120 star, and I decided on 70 star just because if I did a 16 star run, I probably wouldn't be able to talk about that much. That run only takes maybe 20 or 30 minutes if I was to do it. The world record is like somewhere in the 10 to 20 minute range, I think. The way you beat the game with 16 stars is pretty interesting though. There's a bunny called Mips that spawns in the basement when you get 15 stars, and you can actually use that bunny to clip through doors. And you can clip into the Bowser door in the basement early without 30 stars and defeat Bowser. Then you can go upstairs and you can use backward long jumps, which is a very famous glitch in this game, where you can get a lot of speed by long jumping backwards up a slope or stairs. And that lets you basically get to the final Bowser pretty early. But 70 stars is still a popular way to run this game, especially just because that's the normal stars required to beat it, and it's a nice category length. The world record is somewhere in the 40-minute range. That star is one of my favorites. Wall kicks will work. I had a lot of trouble with it when I was a kid because that ice part in the end was so slippery. So, to record this was not easy. So I used to speedrun Ocarina of Time back in the day, or not even back in the day, back like 2016 or something. Maybe even earlier than that, or later, I don't know. But, so I have to use a capture card, and, you know, I could have just played this on an emulator and it would have been super easy to record, but I wanted to do the run on Wii Virtual Console, but I haven't used my capture card in a long time. And since the last time I used it, I've upgraded to Windows 10, so a lot of the software and settings and even drivers that I had for it were gone, and I had to pretty much do this all from scratch. I had a really hard time finding drivers for my capture card. I actually had a backup of the drivers from an old computer that I managed to install to this one. I couldn't find them online or anything, and I don't have the disc for the capture card anymore. And there's multiple programs that you need to really get this recording to be good, and it just took a long time to set up. I mean, I could go into detail, but it's really not that interesting, but I spent probably a couple hours trying to get a signal, and then once I did, I spent even more time trying to get the audio to work. But eventually it worked, and I'm glad I figured it out, because now I have this capture card working again, and if I ever want to record more console gameplay, I can do that. And just for you guys, I wanted to give you guys the console experience. Not that there's really anything wrong with emulators either, though. So that little kick I did there, like the little breakdance that Mario does, I think I do it again later, but it's kind of a useless move in this game. But the reason it was included is because when they were developing this game, they wanted to have enemies that were like really low to the ground, or miniature or something. So they gave you that breakdance move, which you can do by holding Z and pressing B. And it's kind of useless. They never ended up actually including any enemies like that it would be good against, but they left the move in. So that's a little bit of backstory of why that move exists in the game. You can use it as an attack, but it's pretty useless. There's just better choices like the kick or the jump kick or the punch or anything like that. So this level did not go very well. Just gonna say that now, which is strange because it's one of the easiest levels. I was feeling strange while playing this. Like, normally when I play Mario 64, I feel very relaxed and just kind of loose, and today when I was playing it, or yesterday or whatever, when I was recording this, it just felt like there was more pressure on me to not make mistakes. And I just like almost panicked here and thought like, okay, I can't get this jump that I've done a million times to work, so I'm just gonna go around the normal way. Which actually doesn't take very long, but this level did not go great. It's probably the worst level as far as my gameplay in the run. It'll get a little better from there on out. So, trick you can do here, if you ground pound, you can actually go through King Thwomp. Saves a little bit of time of just running around him. Speedrunning this game in general is easy to get into, but it's very hard to master. There's lots of things like star placements, even that you would have to memorize to be really good. So for example, when I defeat King Thwomp, I could have memorized exactly where the star is going to go, because it will be in the same place every time. So if I memorize that, I could be in position to collect it immediately, rather than having to like run and jump towards it. Just a little thing you can do to save a second. Here's a really easy star. Shoot into the wild blue. You don't need the cannon, you can just wall kick. There's actually a lot of stars like that in this game, and you'll see a bunch of them in this run where you can collect them in a way that is not intended. But is it a glitch? That's the question, because it doesn't really seem glitchy. All I did was a wall kick, and I made it right up to the star. It's really one of the more fascinating things about this game. Like right there, that jump, is that a sequence break? Because you're supposed to go all the way around and climb up the castle with the moving platforms, but I just did a little jump there and a wall kick and made it up here quicker than normal. But is that a glitch, or is it just a different route? I would really like to know if the developers thought of things like that. But it's one of the cool things about this game as well, the fact that there are so many different ways to accomplish the same stars. Those piranha plants are interesting because you're supposed to walk up to them slowly and hit them that way so they don't wake up, but it's so easy to just jump on them. Like, who would ever need to use that mechanic of having to walk up to them slowly, where you can just defeat them so easily by jumping on them? So as far as movement in this game, The fastest way to get around is usually either long jumping or diving around. You can also do a slide kick as well, but it's kind of hard to do that quickly in a real-time setting. Both have their advantages and disadvantages. The dives are slightly faster than long jumping, but they require a certain amount of speed already to start a dive. Otherwise, you'll just do the jump kick. Sometimes there you might wait until you have enough speed to do the dive, but there's some dives right there. Like, you might jump and then wait a little second there just to have enough speed, then you do your dive. So this was probably the dumbest moment of the run. How did that happen? I've never seen that happen before, ever. So, kind of a dumb moment there, but probably the worst death of the run. Actually, there might be a worse one later, now that I think about it. One thing I wanted to address was the flaws of this game. So I think this game is nearly perfect, but it's not quite perfect. I think no game is perfect. Even in the best games ever, you could find some flaws. And I would say one for this game is it reuses so much music. Really quite a bit. It would be cool if it had more unique songs, but the ones it does have are very good. The other I would say is it can be a bit annoying that every time you get a star, it kicks you out of the level and you have to go back in. Sometimes it makes sense because things about the level change when you re-enter based on what star you pick. For example, King Bomb. Actually, this is a better example. King Thwomp will be for the first star up at the top, but then in the consecutive stars you'll have the castle. And I don't know how they really could have pulled that off without making you re-enter the level. I guess they could have, but it makes sense in that case that you would re-enter the level and things would be different. But that only happens occasionally. For some stars, like the one I got earlier, Shoot into the Wild Blue, there's really no good reason that I should be forced to exit the level and re-enter just because I got that star. The only exception is the 100 coin star, which you can collect and you don't have to leave the level. Something people don't know about these thwomps, you can jump on them for extra coins, and then ground pound for even more. I was a little late there on the ground pound. This plank is pretty unique. You don't really see this mechanic used again as far as I can remember. So using the Mario camera here to get it behind Mario. I think it's actually Mario is the correct way to pronounce it. You can actually do a triple jump wall kick and get the star up there. Another one of those, like, advanced star collecting methods, if you want to call it that. So because you can get the 100 coin star and get another star before leaving the level, usually you want to combine it with the red coin star, because all 8 red coins count for 16. But sometimes you want to get the secrets or another star. Depends on the level. I guess one defense of the kicking you out of the level thing is when you play this game casually, it really doesn't seem like a problem that you have to re-enter the level because you're spending a lot more time per star to try to find it and solve the puzzle for it or something. Whereas now I played this game so much that I know where all the stars are, I can get them pretty quickly, and it makes the leaving the level portion of the gameplay a lot more significant time-wise as a percentage. So I mentioned this was the worst level as far as my gameplay, and I didn't want to go for the tricky strats to get the fall into the caged island star, so I decided to use Hoot the Owl. And the camera is not your friend here. For some reason, it just never looks right. Like, you're gonna see it here. I'm right above the cage and I drop off, and I'm nowhere near it. I think they made this a little better in the DS version, which I'll talk about more soon in general. So what I did here is kind of like a common thing for speedrunning this game. I went for a different star when I failed one star. So like, maybe you fail the trick for a star, you can just quickly grab another star and re-enter the level and try to get that first star again, and it saves you some time because you're still going to have to get that other star anyway, so it's kind of like a backup star. So because I failed the island star, I figured, let me go get Blast Away the Wall, and then we can try the other star again. You can actually get this star without blasting away the wall by running into the wall in midair. Like, you run off the plank and then touch the wall, and you can just barely like grab the ledge for a second and it'll touch the star and you'll collect it. It used to be really hard to get that star that way because it's really precise, like it's almost pixel perfect or something. So speedrunners would spend a lot of time trying to just attempt that star. But someone actually found a setup for it a few years ago, which I don't know. I mean, I've seen it, but I don't have it memorized. I think it was Sock Folder, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong who found the setup, but you can basically do, that was really dumb as well. You can do like a series of like punch and grab the ledge and climb up and get the star at a precise angle because of that setup. So I actually wasn't sure if Hoot came back or something. I think you have to wait for him. And I decided let's just reset the level because he'll be back for sure. I think he does come back on his own, but it's probably faster to just re-enter. There he is. I wish the side characters in Mario 64 could have like their own games or something. Like, I would love to see a game with Koopa the Quick's backstory. Same with the owl as well. Did I get it this time? I really hope so. Oh my god, yeah, that is why I remember this level being so awful. I'm pretty sure I get it the next time though. I probably could have gone for it the speedrunning way and have gotten it faster. So a lot of people do complain about the camera in this game, which I usually don't. This is one of the only instances where I might say a word or two complaining about it, but I really don't find the camera to be that big of a problem. I like to use the Lakitu cam and just zoom out, and I think it's mostly fine. There we go. You can use the Mario cam to center it behind Mario as well. The game probably could have used a feature like Ocarina of Time has, where you could immediately put the camera behind Mario. That would probably be pretty nice, and the DS version actually does have that. So here's the Secret Slide, which is one of my favorite levels. Peach's Secret Slide, and there's 2 stars here actually. So there's a trick here where you can skip quite a bit of the slide, and I had probably done this trick maybe 300 times in my life at least, and I just could not get it to work here, and I don't know why that is. I think, so basically you turn around and you're supposed to hit this wall, and it angles you perfectly for a jump to the bottom, but I don't know why I kept failing it. I think it was something going along with what I said earlier, where normally I don't record myself playing this game, and now when I do, I feel like there's more pressure to not screw up, so I just played differently for some reason. Which is interesting because I don't really have that problem with RuneScape, I guess because I'm so used to making videos of it, but normally I just play this game by myself. So I don't know why it kept happening, but I figured I would break up the action a little bit here by getting the wing cap star first. Thankfully this one went pretty smooth. So the wing cap is a great part of this game. There's actually a really hard challenge you can do in this stage, not like an official challenge or anything, but trying to get every single coin in this stage is almost impossible. It requires some really smooth flying to get every coin, because the wing cap can run out, and if the wing cap runs out in the beginning, you can't just jump from the bottom to go get the rest of the coins. They're really just too high up. I always wondered about those towers in the wing cap stage on all the 4 corners. Like, what are they supposed to be? Why are they there? But if you try to make sense of this game, you're gonna have a really hard time because, think about it, why does Peach's castle have, like, no furniture almost at all? Why is there so many paintings everywhere instead of just normal things you would see in a castle, I guess? So here's the problem again. I think I was hitting the wall at way too low of an angle. Or just too low down the wall in general. But we're gonna mix things up yet again and go to the Bowser stage before attempting that once more. So the Bowser stages are really cool. They're basically the only linear levels in the game. Most of the levels are very open-ended, whereas this one you kind of just go from point A to point B. And I actually really enjoy that with the Mario 64 format. The hitboxes for those flames are actually quite small. So one thing about those flames, from what I understand, they don't actually go away. So it's out right now, and then it goes away, but then it actually doesn't go away, it just gets moved. So the fire itself just gets sent to somewhere like way out of bounds. And then every time it comes out again, it's teleported back. It's hard to explain, but basically the fire, when it goes back into that flame shooter, I guess, it doesn't just disappear. It just gets transported. So you can do a couple of tricks with these red coins. You can long jump to get the one over there by the spiky thing. So pretty sure you can do it from that platform before the yellow block, but I'm just going to do it from over there. Or actually after the yellow block for the other platform. So the music for this stage is something you've probably heard in another game. So the Super Smash Bros. Melee menu music, like the character select and all that, is actually a remix of Bowser in the Dark World, this stage. A lot of people don't know that. I probably know a lot more about this game than... That's not the right way to put it. My knowledge of this game is way ahead of my actual skill level with this game. Like, I could tell you the most random stuff about this game, or random facts that you might not know, but as far as, like, actually speedrunning it, I mean, I'm sure I could do okay if I actually took the time to learn how to speedrun it properly. So even as a kid in Mario 64, I've always thought that Bowser looks kind of bad. I think the graphics for Mario 64 are very good, especially for the time. It's the first N64 game, but I just feel like Bowser could have looked better. Especially because you can see Bowser on the sub and also the puzzle in Lethal Lava Land, and he looks way different. But like I said, it's the first ever game for this console, and one of the first, like, 3D adventure games that was actually any good. So I can excuse it. So you can actually look at the ground in some circumstances for lag reduction. But there wouldn't have been any lag there, I'm pretty sure, because... Well, even on N64 there probably wouldn't be, but on the Virtual Console version, because it's running on faster hardware, there's actually a lot less lag in the game. Like frame drops and all that, there's pretty much none in the VC version. At least from what I can tell. I think this is the last time I go for it. Yeah. So, it's annoying because I can't even do it normally now. And get the star in time. But we'll just finish it up here. We'll talk more about the lag in a section where it's actually pretty relevant. There's a section where the N64 version will lag like crazy. I mean, it's not that bad, it's playable, but it's noticeable. I'll point it out when we get there. You can actually jump to those pillars. It's kind of useless, but if you're bored and you've already beaten this game so many times that just getting the stars by themselves aren't as fun anymore, those are the type of things that are enjoyable to do. Sort of, at least. It's really not that interesting. So on to the water levels, which I actually don't mind. This one is really simple. I love the windows in here, like those skies that you can see. This area is unique because I think it's the only place in the game where you're underwater and there's no way to go to the surface. But you really wouldn't need to because there's so many coins and they refill your air. So the swimming in this game, to be quick at it, requires a pretty good rhythm of A inputs. You see I actually messed it up there. You want to kind of tap A in a certain pattern. I'm probably not doing it perfectly here. You don't want to mash A because that is actually slower. It's kind of the opposite of Ocarina of Time because in that game you just mash B to swim. So there are 15 secret stars and there's 15 stages, each with 7 stars, so about 105 stars in the stages and 15 secret stars like that. I really like the music for this stage, Jolly Roger Bay. It's definitely a fan favorite. I've always liked the fog above the water on the very first star. Once you get this star for the first time, the fog never comes back. You can see it above the water there. And you'll notice in the next star it's gone. The aesthetics for this game are really great. I think I actually didn't remember the order here, which is pretty embarrassing. The swimming controls in this game are very good. Or no, I got it. I think I did. Yeah, for some reason I thought it was right, left. It's actually left, right. But yeah, the swimming controls in this game are pretty good. The only thing that can be difficult is when you're trying to, like, swim into a precise spot. Like these chests, if you don't come at them from the right angle, it's kind of tricky to adjust. So another little speedrunning trick here. You don't actually have to climb up these platforms. You have enough time, if you swim fast, to get to the star right away. Also, you might have seen there that when I collect the star, I ground pound at the same time, and that actually makes you fall to the ground very quickly, so the star animation starts right away. Just saves like a very small amount of time. So if I was to actually plan out this 70 star speedrun, I would write out which stars I was actually going to collect and which I would leave out. And because I didn't have an idea of that in my head beforehand, I was kind of getting a lot of stars from these early levels because I didn't want to be short on stars by the end. You can always go back, of course, but it wastes time to go back and forth between the levels. If you're here, you should get all the stars that you intend to get. I did go back to a few here in this run. The other thing that you have to factor in is you can't always get all the stars in a level. You might need a cap unlocked, like the metal cap or wing cap or vanish cap. But there are some workarounds for this. You might be seeing one right here, actually. So this jet stream, normally you need the metal cap, but with the swimming I talked about earlier, if you time your swimming just perfectly, it doesn't have to be perfect actually, but pretty good, you can actually get the star without the metal cap just by swimming through the stream. Just barely got it there. So that saves us having to come back if we wanted to get that star. So the draw distance in this game is not that amazing. I thought the Bomb-On Buddy wasn't here for this star, until I actually got really close and he appeared. But he opens the cannon for us. This game runs on 4 megabytes of RAM, so you can understand it. There is actually an accessory for the Nintendo 64, the expansion pack, which you need for games like Majora's Mask, which actually doubles the RAM to 8 megabytes. But I'm pretty sure it doesn't actually work with the previous games, like Mario 64 will still only use 4 megabytes of RAM, even if you have the expansion pack. So a weird thing about this level is this is one of the first levels in the game, and for some reason it is extremely strict with the coins. It only has 104 coins, I think. So there's some blue coins there from the switch at the start of this cave, and if you miss one, you can't get the 100 coin star, which I think is pretty brutal for one of the first levels in the game. In the DS version, I'm pretty sure they added some more coins to balance it out. Of course, you can always try again if you miss a coin. It's pretty easy to get all 104 coins, but you would expect there to be some leeway. So you can actually get this star without the cannon. You have to do this really weird walk thing where you like keep tapping up on the control stick. It's really hard to do. In the Japanese version, for some reason, this star is not in a box. They added a box for the English version. So the DS version gets a lot of hate because the controls are not as good. You have to use a D-pad on the DS version. You can use the analog stick for the 3DS, but it's still only a digital input where there's only 8 directions. So that's really the main problem with the DS version, is the controls are not as good. But they did a pretty good job with it overall. They added 30 more stars, 3 new characters with Luigi, Wario, and Yoshi, of course. Here's a little weird camera trick. They tried to do everything they could because you can also use the touchscreen and a few other control options, but you can get used to the D-pad with enough practice. Here's another little sequence break, if you could call it that. You don't have to go through the library. You can just hop right over here. I played the DS version quite a bit. I got it with the original DS at launch, and it was one of my favorite DS games, and the mini-games for it are also extremely good. Like, some of them are pretty dumb, but for the most part, the mini-games on there are very fun to play. And I've talked about how I like other characters in games, like the ability to play as many characters, and having 4 of them in that version was really cool. Especially being able to play as Luigi, because growing up you would always hear rumors about Luigi being in the game, especially with the star statue, which you will see when I complete this star. Basically, there's a little statue in the pool in the courtyard, and there's some really blurry text on it, and nobody quite actually knows what it says. Some people think it says Eternal Star, but the majority of people think it says L is real, 2401. It's really hard to see. This Boo wasn't cooperating for some reason. But the text is probably really blurry because it got compressed for the N64. So we'll probably never know what it was supposed to say, if anything. It's also in Ocarina of Time, in Dodongo's Cavern, on the 2nd floor. There's a little plaque where you can actually read it, and it says something about the game. Like a text box shows up, which doesn't seem to actually resemble what is written on it. Like, it just says something random about the dungeon in Dodongo's Cavern. It's not interesting. So I'm not gonna lie, when I was young, this level really scared the heck out of me. I would never go near it. I had my friends actually do the stars in here for me. Everything about it was terrifying. The music, it was so dark, the eyes there, the boos, especially the piano that chases you around. But nowadays it's actually one of my favorite levels to do. Even those ghosts, when you kill them, the boos, they say ghosts don't die. That's a pretty scary thing for a Mario game. Another thing which I've never had a problem with before, hitting this King Boo, and now suddenly I'm having a problem here. I guess one flaw of this level is you actually have the same boss fight 3 times with the Big Boo. You fight him here, you fight him in the merry-go-round, and you fight him on top of the mansion. They could have been a little more creative with that. So here's the statue, right under the star there. Even if you go up close to it, you can't really make out what it says. Although some people really do think it says L is real, so I'll accept it. So anyways, with the RAM issue I was talking about earlier, they were actually planning a 2-player version of this game in early development. I'll link about this down below if you want to read about it, but basically, the very early versions of this game, when they were developing them, had Mario and Luigi kind of running around like a very basic level, and it was like a split-screen multiplayer or something, which would have been awesome. But the problem was, because this game already had issues with frame rate and memory resources, they would have had to make the levels so basic so it wouldn't lag the game. So what they decided to do was cut Luigi instead and just make the levels more complex, because they just felt it would be better to have more complex levels compared to having a 2-player mode, so Luigi was cut from the game. And it's kind of unfortunate because I've heard that this game doesn't really use the full resources and power of the N64. Like, if they had more experience programming on the N64, they might have been able to make it work. But you can understand it, again, because it is the first game. But there are some remnants of that 2-player mode left over in the game's code, I'm pretty sure. Nothing explicitly saying Luigi, though. But of course, there was that big leak recently with Nintendo, and they actually found some of Luigi's model and, like, textures and all that. So, he was actually intended to be in the game, which is really awesome, and sad at the same time that he isn't. But when I was growing up, you would hear rumors like, go to the statue at 3 AM and get all the stars and kick 5 times in a row in the air or something, and you can unlock Luigi. But of course, those are all false. So, Mips is either you catch him right away, or you chase him for a minute, which is basically what happened here. So Mips is the bunny where you can use the glitch to get in the Bowser door early. You carry him around and use him to clip through the doors. Apparently Mips was used as a testing character for the Nintendo 64 by the developers, and apparently the developers liked him and they decided to leave him in. The sad part is once you catch him twice, he's removed from the game permanently on your save file. He just disappears completely. But he'll be back in this run when we get 50 stars. So that star was one of the quickest stars in the game. This one's also fairly quick. Klepto is around here somewhere. This is my least favorite enemy in the game because as a kid I never wanted my hat to be stolen, and he can do that. He can steal your hat. And if you don't have your hat in this game, you take double damage. It's kind of interesting because there's not really any other upgrades or anything that Mario gets. It's pretty much you have the hat and you can lose it and you can get it back, but he can't unlock any other sort of equipment, unlike a Zelda game. So the trick here where you can triple jump to climb up hills is really nice at the beginning here, as well as the kick if you need some more height. They actually took that out of the DS version, which is unfortunate, but you can actually do those kick dives instead really quick, and it's kind of awkward to do, but you can climb up hills just as well. So back around 2007 or 2008, one of the things I would like to do when glitch hunting was look for places where you can BLJ, also known as backwards long jumping. And that's basically where you do the long jump, but you do it backwards, and if you do it in certain corners or slopes, you can do it repeatedly, and you gain like a ton of speed. It's like ridiculous. You just gain so much speed the more you do, and there's lots of places in the game where you can do this. And of course, for the 16-star run, as well as the 0 and 1-star runs, you can actually get to the final Bowser early by BLJing up the stairs. You gain so much speed that you can actually just clip right through the door. Alright, I'm back for the second day of recording commentary for this. I wanted to do this like just literally in one take, and that is way too hard to do. I kind of want it to be like a stream recording almost, where I'm just kind of, you know, I'm not necessarily commentating every single aspect, but just kind of talking through it with you guys. But commentary is hard, it really is. It's something that it's hard to master. I've definitely gotten much better at it doing YouTube, for sure. But like sometimes I'll stumble over my words doing this, and then I don't want to leave that in. Like I don't want to be trying to make the commentary perfect, but if something like that happens, I don't want to leave it in. So I'm trying to do some longer takes here. So that was stand atop the 4 pillars, I think it's called. And you don't actually need to do that. You can actually get into the iRock fight without that. There's a few ways. You can do a triple jump from one of those little platforms in the sand and do a wall kick and grab the ledge, or you can jump down from the top and kind of just jump and kick your way in. But it really doesn't take very long to actually go on all the pillars. Always thought it was annoying how that boss's dialogue is like one sentence at a time. You have to keep hitting the button there. But the boss is very easy. Really, all the bosses in this game are really very easy. Which I guess you could say is a flaw with it. It would have been cool if this game had some more challenge. At least with the bosses. I can't really say challenge in general because I've died a few times already here. So I'm curious about the Switch version of this game. Is it going to have, like, some more changes that we don't know about yet? It's pretty safe to say it's going to be the newest Japanese N64 version of the game, which is an old version now, obviously, but the last version of this game released in Japan, from what I understand, had BLJs fixed, so that'll be interesting to see as well. Which doesn't really matter for 70-star and 120-star. They don't save too much time in this category. They're just very important for the 1-star, 0-star, and 16-star categories. Another easy boss. And of course it will include Super Mario Sunshine and Galaxy as well, which I think are very good games. Galaxy I really like, and Sunshine is very good. The only problem I really have with Sunshine is the blue coins. It kind of feels lazy to me. There's 120 shines like this game, with the stars, but you have to collect these blue coins in Mario Sunshine that count towards more shines. Like when you get a certain amount, you can trade them in for a shine. And it's just not very interesting. I would much rather there have been just more missions to get the shines. I just looked it up, and there are 24 shines you can get in Mario Sunshine from collecting blue coins, which I think is almost an absurd amount. So there's only 96 stars you get normally. But Mario Sunshine was not extremely well received when it came out, and I think over the years people realized that it is still a very good game. The flood aspect is actually quite fun. And they give you some good variety with the secret stars where you don't have flood for them, and it's just old school platforming. One of the main differences in that game is there's no long jump, there's no punching or kicking with Mario. You can dive still. And there's some other moves like the spin jump. But most of your attacks are going to be based on FLUDD. You can still ground pound though. So normally you would like to pair the red coin star with the 100 coin star, but in this level, in a later mission, a green shell spawns near the start, so you're kind of better off waiting for the green shell. Makes it much easier to get the 100 coins. So here's another star where if you're really pro, you can get it with a really precise triple jump kick, wall kick. You can actually wall kick with a triple jump off the very corner of the wall there, and just barely make it over. But I'm just doing it the normal way here, because that is a pretty difficult trick to do, if you haven't done it in years. I could have been a little more, like, risky here. Could have just hopped right on the log here. Also, you can just skip the log in general by long jumping and then doing 2 lava bounces. But, like I said earlier, I was playing... You're going to see it actually more in this level that I was playing so safe that it's actually going to cost me, as you're going to see. This used to be my favorite level, and even now I would say it's probably my second favorite. We'll get to my favorite later. I like how it's like the floor is lava, and literally, and there's just like certain platforms you have to go to. You can't just go wherever you want. It's like you're kind of hopping from island to island, and then plus you have the shell, which makes it really fun. So I wasn't sure how the coin count would work here, so I got all the 8 red coins here again. But normally you'd want to get only 7, just to skip the cutscene. Missed a coin there somehow. So the shell makes getting to these areas much easier, and if you're ever sliding backwards with the shell, you can always just keep jumping. Here's a little speedrun strat. After the eye is spinning around, and you have to wait for the blue coin, you can go get these coins in the meantime, but I missed the last one. This level isn't too tight on coins, but you can't go outside the volcano once you go in, so I really wanted to make sure I had enough once I actually entered the volcano. You could do some crazy tricks with the shell. There's a glitch where you can go backwards with the shell on a slope, and you can build up some crazy speed. That's really the great thing about this game for speedrunning is Mario's speed can be very fast if you do some tricks like backwards long jumping or with the shell. There's a trick in slopes with water. You can do these wall kicks where if you wall kick on frame 1, you can gain speed every time. So if you do like a million wall kicks in a tight space, you can gain some really fast speed. That trick is kind of TAS only though. A lot of tricks are like that. So a TAS is a tool-assisted speedrun, which is where they can play the game frame by frame on an emulator with save states and precise controls. And basically they make a TAS by kind of saving all those inputs when they play frame by frame, and then when you watch the TAS, you're seeing those inputs being played back in real time, so it can make for a really precise speedrun. So this was the dumbest moment of the run. I decided to kill this bully for no reason. I literally always jump over that bully, and for some reason I decided to kill him, and I died. So all of that 100 coin progress is lost, and that's probably the biggest mistake of the run. Thankfully I can go back in the volcano and get a different star. I couldn't remember where to lava boost for the first star, so I decided to go for the other one. Actually, this one is the first star in the volcano if you want to be technical. So TAS isn't always the right word because You can be showing off a trick and people will call it a TAS, even though it's not actually a speedrun, but generally people just still call it a TAS. But it can lead to some confusion. TA doesn't really sound like a great abbreviation. TAS, you can just say it. Or acronym would be the correct term. And the opposite of that is RTA, real-time attack, which also doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. You can dive kick there to bounce on the lava once. It's actually a pretty cool trick. It's not super useful here though, because normally you can just long jump anyway and get around the same distance. So I was going to try the lava boost again there, but because I took some damage there, not going to bother. I like this volcano. It's cool that this level has a whole other section to it, kind of like Shifting Sandland does, but I like the volcano a lot more than the pyramid. Shifting Sandland, honestly, is one of my least favorite levels. It's just not very exciting to me. So these poles have a pretty big hitbox range to grab them, so it's a lot easier than it looks. Here I also wanted to be super careful. If you just try to long jump there, you can very easily hit against the wall or the ledge and fall off. I know from experience. So there is a free star we can get here from Toad, first of 3. You could kind of call these the blue coins of Mario 64, because there's 3 stars in the game that require no effort. It's actually worse than the blue coins because at least those you have to find. I just think they're overused. But I guess they want to encourage you to talk to the Toads, because sometimes if you were playing this game casually, the Toads might have useful information. Same with the signposts. So this level is pretty cool, Hazy Maze Cave. And I like the music. It's a remix of the Mario 1 underground theme, Super Mario Bros. On NES. I have the Mario Duck Hunt for NES. And I have the Zapper as well. It works surprisingly well. So this level has a couple cool tricks you can do to get some stars early. Should be one coming up here, I think. So you can do a wall kick and just get up there, just barely. Well, it's not that close, but it's kind of a tight wall kick because you don't have a lot of room to side flip here. The side flip is a really powerful jump in this game because it goes really almost as high as a triple jump, and it's pretty easy to do. So I was considering here just climbing the top here, but I decided, you know what, YOLO, I've been playing it safe the whole run. Why don't I just finally take a chance here? And I did, and it paid off, so I guess that says something about how I should start playing. It's a pretty easy long jump. The only problem was I couldn't get the camera behind Mario correctly, so it was hard to get a good angle for it. That is one problem sometimes, is you can't always get the camera to be where you want it to be. So here's a glitch to get out of bounds for a second. You can do that, and then you fall into this little pit here. A very easy way to get that star. You have to hold to the left or right when you go out of bounds, because otherwise you'll void out and respawn outside. And you can do it again if you want to get down here for the other stars. There's actually quite a bit to do down here. You can get the metal cap, which we'll unlock now. I've always liked Dory. There's just this big dinosaur down here. Maybe he's Yoshi's cousin. So the metal cap you don't actually need for too much. I'm gonna get it because there's a star down here anyway. And it will help with 1 star. The music for the metal cap is very good. But you can actually beat this game with all 120 stars and never unlock the metal cap. You will have the metal cap active for this star because you have it when you enter, but you don't have to press down the switch. If you're very fast, you can actually get all the red coins with the metal cap you start with, and even get the star, which is pretty hard to do. It's called Blinkless if you manage to get the star with the initial metal cap without it beginning to run out, because when it runs out, it starts to blink back to original Mario. That's another example of the music being reused, like the Vanish Cap doesn't have its own music, it just borrows from the Wing Cap song. So there's a switch down here, underwater, but you can actually do a wall kick and ground pound, and hit the switch from up above. But the positioning is pretty precise, and I remember even back in the day, when I was actually practiced with this game, I would always have trouble with that trick. So, all these years later, I'm not going to attempt it and probably fail it 100 times. But if I was going to take this game seriously with speedrunning it, I would of course learn it. Like, this run is literally just for fun, so I'm not going to stress over, like, tiny details. It was pretty difficult to have to route it on the fly. Like, literally I wasn't sure, should I go for another star? Is it worth it? Should I go to the next stage? Do I have to come back? And this was another kind of boneheaded moment where I went in the maze and I couldn't, like, find what I was looking for. I've never had this maze, like, memorized in my head, and it's going to show here. So I ended up just leaving. So the nice thing with the metal cap is at least you don't have to worry about the fog. Interesting though, if you stand still with the metal cap in the fog, Mario will still do a coughing animation, even though he can't be affected by the fog. A little bit of an oversight. You can see the metal cap blinking there. That's probably the trickiest blue coin switch when you're getting 100 coin stars. It's pretty easy to mess up and not get all the blue coins. You could probably miss a few though. I don't have it memorized how many there are. So to talk more about the DS version, I played it a lot growing up, and for a while I actually liked it better than this version. But overall, the original Mario 64 is still better, but that doesn't mean the DS version isn't quite good as well. You can definitely get used to the D-pad, and there's a lot of redeeming qualities to it. There's more levels, there's some secret levels where you unlock the other characters. There's a beach level, which has Mario Sunshine music, which is pretty cool. A fortress level. And the multiplayer for it is actually quite good. There was no online or anything, but it's very enjoyable. It's not a masterpiece though, there are some problems, like the silver stars and the switch stars are kind of overused. They did take out some stars from the original, like the Shoot to the Island and the Sky Star in Bomb on Battlefield. Some of the more basic stars like that were removed in favor of more interesting ones, which I think is a good change. And the cap system is quite nice as well. So there's 4 characters and you have to go to a room to switch to them. But you can actually just play as any character and find caps in the level, which is really convenient because certain stars require certain characters. Like, you might need Mario because he's the only one who can wall kick. You can be Yoshi and find a Mario cap and it'll turn you into Mario for the rest of the star until you get hit or something. And a lot of people think that the cap system was actually the inspiration for Mario Odyssey, which I haven't actually played. The only problem is it's not very balanced. Like, Wario is pretty terrible. You really only use him to break certain blocks. Yoshi is decent, but you mainly use him in the beginning of the game, when he's the first character you play as. There's only a few stars after that where you really need him. But he's versatile because you can collect any cap with him, whereas with other characters there's no Yoshi cap. Mario is the only character who can use the wing cap and also the Super Mario World balloon ability. By the way, wall kicks are called wall kicks in this game. In many other games they're called wall jumps, but in this game they're called wall kicks. I don't know why it's a difference, but even in like Super Smash Bros. Melee, it's a wall jump, but in this game it's a wall kick. It's always been a pet peeve of mine when people call it wall jump, even though there's no reason for it. It's the same thing. And of course, if you've ever played the game, you know Luigi is incredibly broken. He has the scuttle jump for his normal jumps, and also the backflip, which goes incredibly high, and also results in a kind of hovering ability where he spins around, kind of like when you jump off a spindrift, and you can cheese so many stars with that. It really breaks the game. It's like easy mode when you play as Luigi. He also has a weird ability where he can actually walk on water for a short period of time, which is weird because it's not really used anywhere in the game. There's no stars that require it. I guess it's good for travel, but that's about it. So Luigi is the only one who can use the invisible cap, or the vanish cap. Wario can use the metal cap, and Mario can use the wing cap. And they all can use the mushroom, which makes you giant, and it's like a Super Mario Bros. Type power-up. So I was confused with the routing here, and I decided to go back here too early, but I realized I don't have the vanish cap yet, so I should just defeat Big Boo again. Not really a great routing decision, but again, trying to actually play and route at the same time is very difficult. But at least there is a star to collect. Getting up top of this mansion is always harder than it looks. It's pretty hard to fall. This game has really tons of cool glitches to try out, and also the DS version does as well. There's no BLJ in the DS version, but there's plenty of other weird glitches you can do. There's a lot more easy ways to get out of bounds. At least from memory. With all the glitches in this game, I've always been surprised there's no way to actually get more than 120 stars. There is a glitch called duping, but if you use it to collect a star, it counts as a different star, so it basically evens out where you're still getting 120 stars. Like, it basically just gives you a star that's somewhere else in the level. So this is the section that can lag the game a lot in the N64, Bowser's sub. And if you watch speedruns of this on N64, you'll notice they keep the camera in a weird way where they want to keep the sub off screen for as long as possible. So about right here on the N64 version, the game would lag like crazy, but because we're playing on VC on better hardware, it doesn't really lag at all, as far as I can tell. So here's another star where I'm getting it in a way that's not intended. You're supposed to press a switch which creates boxes as a platform to make it up here, but you can actually go on the end here and just kind of hop your way up. But I kept failing it for some reason. There's a steep part where it's easy to fall off, so you just want to do a triple jump, but I missed the input there. It's kind of silly. I think I get it here. There we go. So one thing of note is you can see here that the entrance to Dire Dire Docks goes backwards, right after you get the Board Bowser's Substar. And that's significant because back in the day when people were trying to figure out how to beat this game with the minimum stars possible, that was like the last roadblock for 0 stars. You could get into this door for Bowser and the Fire Sea with a BLJ, but you couldn't get past that barrier, so you would have to go get the Substar, and you could do a 1-star speedrun of this game. Eventually people found out you could adjust the BLJ to actually get past that as well, and it saved a lot of time because the Board Bowser's Substar is one of the slower ones in the game. So now you can beat the game with 0 stars. In fact, in a task run, you can actually skip the first Bowser altogether. You can actually do a crazy trick to enter the basement early by entering the door outside the castle underwater. It's a really complicated trick. You probably can't ever do it in real time, as far as I know. Basically, it lets you skip the first key. So the first Bowser gives you a key to the basement, but you can skip it and go right down here from the start. But you do have to beat this Bowser because he gives you a key as well for the top door at the top of the steps in the lobby of the castle. This was a good jump, by the way. I'm happy with that. And you can't skip that key because even if you BLJ behind the door, the loading zone is only activated when you actually open the door. So you can't skip it, as far as we know. There might be a way someday. It's hard to say for a game like this that something is impossible, because we thought it was impossible to skip the first Bowser, and now it is possible. Some people do still run 1-star speedruns just as a kind of legacy run. Same with 16-star as well, because before it was possible to beat the game with 1 star, you needed the 16 stars to use the MIPS glitch. So they're kind of legacy categories. The board Bowser substar is also a factor in 16-star because you only need 15 to get to MIPS to do the clip, but you also need to get the board Bowser sub to get into Bowser and the Fire Sea. So this Bowser is a cool boss, but I always found it dumb that he only needs 1 hit to die. You would think because the first Bowser requires 1 hit, and the third one requires 3 hits, that this one would require 2. But he only requires 1 as well, so they could have made this a little more challenging. I do really enjoy this Bowser level though, the Bowser in the Fire Sea. Really, the lava mechanics in this game were very well done. Interesting, you can actually lava boost while using the metal cap and you won't take damage, so it's kind of a cool mechanic. However, you can't actually do that without cheats in this game because there's no metal cap in any of the stages. Only the wing cap, I'm pretty sure. So this wasn't great routing here because MIPS comes back with 50 stars and I have 49. So I'm actually just going to go drain the water here and do the Vanish Cap stage, which has a star as well. When I was young, I was always sad to drain the water because I always thought it looked pretty cool outside the castle. And I actually enjoy the swimming in this game. That is the door down there that you can't enter without a TAS. But in the TAS, they enter it and go beat the basement Bowser early. Here's some good dives, which is one of the fastest forms of movement, which I mentioned, but not a very good angle, because I had to turn right there. This stage is pretty cool. Like most of the stages which only have 1 star, I think it's pretty unique and enjoyable. You don't have to go all the way down there, you can actually just hop over here and hope you don't fall. It's okay to take damage, but you can avoid that by diving right before you hit the ground. There's quite a few ways to avoid fall damage in this game. The easiest is the dive, which kind of resets your falling damage timer, I guess, if that makes sense. Also, you can just ground pound. And you can also wall kick right before you hit the ground if you go near a wall. And if you do a dive recovery, like if you dive on the ground and then you jump back up, for some reason, when you land from that, you'll never take fall damage. Speaking of the dive recovery, it's actually really useful in a challenge people do for this run, or this game in general, where you can try to beat the game with the minimum amount of A presses required. So basically you can't jump normally, you can't do anything with the A button, or if you do, you want to minimize it as much as possible. So it's pretty cool to see what people can do to try to beat this game without using the A button, because you can't do your normal jumps or triple jumps or long jumps, but you can do the dive, which you see there. You can do the dive recovery, as you saw there. You can do the kind of slide kick move as well. There's some cool workarounds to platform without the A button. But some stars are very difficult and require TAS-only methods. It's very entertaining to watch, though. There's some other challenges like coinless, capless, and cannonless. Those are pretty self-explanatory, the caps being the power-up caps. And there's workarounds for pretty much all of them. Maybe there's a few that you can't get. But for example, in Bomb Bomb Battlefield, the island in the sky normally requires the cannon or the wing cap to access, but you can actually do a pretty precise long jump from the top of the mountain, where King Bomb Bomb is, to access it without needing either of those. So the music is reused here from Jolly Roger Bay, but I can't complain with this one because this is one of my favorite songs in the game. I used to find that star pretty annoying with the rings, but if you actually get to see where the hitboxes are for the rings, they're kind of a square in the center of them. So you basically want to swim right through the center of the ring if you don't want to miss it. So which one did I go for here? I think I went for this one, then I screwed it up, so I went for the other one. Collect the caps. Still the best thing to do if you mess up a star, just go get a different one. So for this one, it's a really cool star because you can combine the caps, which is really the only place in the game where you do this. However, you don't actually need the metal cap, you can just swim and get it. Which is actually disappointing, because it's a really cool star. It's pretty creative to be able to combine them, but it's much slower to use the metal cap. You're supposed to walk down under the water while being metal and invisible at the same time, but it just takes much longer. With Game Shark codes, you can actually combine all three caps at the same time, which looks really cool. But again, there's just nowhere in the game where you can get all three. So for a 70-star speedrun, I probably shouldn't have been getting many stars from here, just because you do have to take some time to swim through here. But just because I wasn't sure about how my star count would work out, I figured let's just get the easy ones while we can. I thought that was not going to work, honestly. The last ring. This is the same as in Jolly Roger Bay. You don't need the metal cap again. You can just barely grab it there. So we only have 16 stars to go. And we have a couple more Toad stars as well, so as far as time goes, we might be able to squeeze it in under an hour and 45 minutes. So for here, we're not going to get another star, we're just going to exit course. Just saves a few seconds of having to traverse the castle again. There's a small glitch we can do here. And here's one of my favorite levels, Dire Dire Docks. Probably my favorite level, actually. Which is weird because it's a water level, and you would think I wouldn't like a water level. And in general, I don't in most games. I don't really mind them in this game, though. I think the water levels in this game are pretty good. Even Dire Dire Docks, which most people don't like. Here's a little shortcut. For this star, you're supposed to climb up there and use the arrow lifts, but even if you do it that way, you can just long jump over them. It's really simple. So of course the gimmick with this stage is you basically can enter the painting at different heights, and the water level changes based on that. But you can also hit these switches to raise or lower the water as well. And this is the highest setting, which makes it really easy to enter right here. So fun fact about the background for this level, like in the background outside of the level, out of bounds, the picture is of a town in Spain. It's actually a really cool picture, and looks like a really nice city. This is the quick race through Downtown Star, but you don't really have to be that quick. A lot of people don't know that you can run through the center structures while invisible. So this is the level where you can do the weird duping glitch, which I might have briefly mentioned earlier. You can basically get that Shakya, you can pick him up and bring him in the water, and then if you get him through the entrance to the town, when you swim like halfway there's a loading zone, and the Shakya will unload, but Mario will still be carrying something, and you could actually swim back and forth in the loading zone, and the object Mario is carrying will switch to other objects, and you could actually get it to turn into the star. I believe it's the quick race through Downtown Star, but I could be wrong. It's one of those mysterious glitches. Here's a little skip to get up here. So the nice thing about this level is you don't actually need to have the water up for really anything. You can pretty much navigate the whole area with the water at the lowest setting, which I think is why I like it, because I like the layout of this level. If you had to actually constantly lower and raise the water, I think I wouldn't like it as much. Tried to do some wall kicks here, but I think I messed up the angle. But it's okay, the platform is still coming, so it didn't really waste any time to fail that. You can do a BLJ both on the rising platform and also up here with the low ceiling under the cage. But I don't think they really have any uses. I think we'll get one more star here. Yeah, the secrets. So I'll give you a couple examples of what you can do for the capless, coinless, cannonless run. So for the star where you need the vanish cap, which I got earlier, because you can dupe the star, you can actually get that without the vanish cap because you won't have to go in the cage for it. In Shifting Sandland, there's also the secret star where you have to get 5 coins, or the secrets. There's a weird dive glitch, by the way. So the secrets you normally get by collecting 5 certain coins, but the hitbox to activate the secret is actually slightly bigger than the coin hitbox itself. So if you're very precise with your movement, you can actually activate the secret without collecting the coin. Kind of like there, you're supposed to hit that block for the secret to activate in this level, but if you're kind of lucky like that, you can actually activate it without breaking the box. I didn't mean to do that though, because I wanted to break the box. Didn't actually mean to get hit by that guy, but he threw me in a good spot. So the 100 coin star in this level is pretty easy because you can actually get 100 coins without even having to go to the town. There's quite a few coins here. Especially in these boxes, they have, I don't know how many, let's see. $10, yeah, that's quite a bit. So just pushing the block to ensure I get all the coins here. You can see how useful the side flip is, it really goes quite high. That is one problem with the DS version, is because the controls are precise, sometimes it could be hard to pull that off. There are other control schemes in the DS version though, including using the touchscreen. Here's a good place to use the Mario cam, by the way, to get the camera behind Mario. The cool thing is, if you use a touchscreen, it actually acts as full analog control on the DS version, and in a tool-assisted speedrun, they actually make good use of that. Pretty much all TASs for the DS version are done with the touchscreen control, so they basically have analog control, and they can actually be quite enjoyable to watch. You saw there Mario, once he's already in his star animation, he won't start going into the swimming one. I raised the water right as I did that jump just to have a little backup in case I missed the jump for some reason. Here's another free star. So already at 61. So we have just over 20 minutes to beat the game under my goal. So also in the DS version, there's some pretty cool things here where you can actually go behind the mirror. There's a star back there and also a place to unlock Wario. So this level I really never liked for some reason. And this is like one of the easiest stars to do, and I screwed it up a bunch here. So you're supposed to go through this ice maze, but you can actually just do a triple jump and then a dive jump. But I kept missing the dive jump for some reason. I think I get it here. Yep, there we go. So normally when you jump in place and you press B, Mario will do a kick. And as I think I've already mentioned, you have to have a certain amount of speed going forward to do a dive. However, if you're on a slope and you're facing forward up the slope, Mario will always dive. You can't kick while facing up, unless you do the B and A kicks. So there's a trick here, you could actually just slide right into the bully and knock him out pretty quick, but I messed it up. But it's okay, it didn't take very long. I think I maybe go back for one more star. This level has a lot of interesting glitches. You can dupe your hat in this level. You can also dupe the money bag enemy, and because of that, you can get infinite coins from him. And there's also a coin that's like under the ground on one of the slopes leading up to the top of the snowman. You can get that coin with a pretty precise cannon shot. There's a few coins like that in the game. There's one in Tiny Huge Island. It used to be called the Impossible Coin until someone found a way to collect it, and it's no longer the Impossible Coin. I think the reason the coins are under the ground is because the developers put the coins in a row, so they'll just put like a row of 5 coins or something, and they just do that like every time for the row, and because of the way they placed them, some of them ended up under the ground. There's also a similar situation with the Goombas in Bowser in the Sky. A lot of Goombas in this game come in groups of 3, and for some reason they put a group of 3 in Bowser in the Sky, except one of them is like falling off the level. I'm pretty sure you can actually see the Goomba if you look down at the bottom of the stage where the blast zone is, but as far as I know, there's no way to actually defeat it. So here's one of the places you would BLJ in a 0 or 16 star run. You can BLJ up the stairs there and get right through this door. Here's our third and final star from Toad. I always didn't understand why the Toads are like semi-transparent until you get near them. I don't know if that's intentional or they did it to save space or something. You can even see it right there. Here's Rainbow Ride, which a lot of people don't like this level. I think it's okay. There are some boring parts about riding carpets. I tried to go for a trick here, which I failed. You can wall kick up there. Just saves a few seconds of going a different way. It's actually not too hard to do, but if your timing is off, you can keep messing it up, so there's another way. So normally you have to ride a carpet to get to those platforms, but you can also just long jump over here. And we could actually go up to the spinning platforms now, but there's a few stars we can get over here. Slide flip coming in very useful there. I think you can actually just long jump over to the little pendulum over there. But I'm going for tricky triangles anyway first. Fairly simple star. So this level is very linear, but I don't mind that, because like I said, I like the linear aspect of the Bowser levels. So one of the hardest things you can do in this game is try to get the Big House in the Sky star without using the carpets. There is a crazy way to do it, and I couldn't even begin to explain how, but it is possible. This star is really high above the ground for some reason. I always wondered why that is. Many stars have varying heights. There's also another trick to get to the cruiser early. You can bounce off a Lakitu onto a ramp and grab a pole. But it's pretty hard to do, and if you mess it up, you can't really try again, because he won't be in the right position. So here's the last, like, kind of bad section of the run. I made some mistakes in the stage. You can just use the wind to hop up and save yourself the climb. And there's a little sequence break over here. Just getting rid of the Chuckya, just in case. You can jump here and use the kick and grab the slide star without even having to go on the slide. It is a pretty big sequence break because it really does save a lot of time, but it's hard to say if it's a glitch or not. On the DS version, they actually added a barrier, so you can't do that. You can actually clip through the wall here. It's kind of tricky to do, though. I don't remember the angle for it, so I just kick my way up. So you have to be careful here when jumping on the log because there is an invisible wall. It's very easy to hit it if you're not careful. So here's one camera issue I did encounter. Over there is the star blast to the Lonely Mushroom, which you're supposed to use the cannon for, but you can actually just long jump and get it from here, or probably from other places as well. I couldn't get the camera behind Mario, so I kind of guessed the angle, and I wasn't even close. That's another star you can do it completely the non-intended way. You're supposed to teleport to the bottom of the stage and unlock the cannon previously with the Bomb-On Buddy and make a pretty precise cannon shot to it, but you can just long jump. So I might have gone for it a couple times, unfortunately. You might actually be able to just hover to it with the Shy Guy bounce. I probably should have just tried that, but I slipped. Oh well. Only 2 more stars to go. Maybe at this point I was just kind of getting antsy because I knew the end was in sight as far as this run goes. I was enjoying the run, don't get me wrong, but maybe I was like trying to finish really strong. Thankfully it doesn't take many seconds to retry this. But there were some more mishaps coming up. Kind of awkward wall kicks there. Got the wrong angle. There's some good wall kicks with the frame 1. If Mario like freezes when he does the wall kick, that means you got a frame 1 wall kick as far as I can tell. Which is the one that really builds up speed. So these red coins are all in one place, which some of the stages have the red coins all over the place, and some of them have them in a pretty central location. It's hard to say which is better. Probably, honestly, the spread out red coins. So here was a pretty costly error. I thought this mushroom was much closer, but I underestimated the distance. So, really silly mistake, but I think I pick it up from here on out. Was doing some nice dives, but then I realized that I was running out of space. And I somehow missed the coin. The coins have really big hitboxes, so I guess I was surprised I missed it. The kick is really useful here as like a little double jump. Mid-air jump. One more. And we're going to be careful here. taking no chances. I think I considered going for that, but I figured let's just do a normal jump. And just one more star to go before 70. I think this stage is pretty good. It's very vertical. I like climbing up it. So let's see if we can get this long jump this time. Boom. Just barely made it on. And even then I almost fell off. And there we go, we have 70 stars. So just one thing left to do, we have to go beat Bowser, and that should wrap it up. The infinite staircase will be deactivated now that we have 70 stars. It's actually a very easy place to BLJ up because the stairs actually give you a really easy chance to BLJ because they continue forever. So if you mess up, you can just keep trying. So it's actually weird doing this level and not going for the red coin star because, like I said, I usually play with 120 stars as far as my playthroughs go. Instead, we're just going from point A to point B. You can actually do a triple jump dive up to the spinning platform, but it doesn't save too much time, and I really didn't want to start dying again. Just gotta be careful here and grab the ledge. You don't actually need to activate the stairs, of course, because of the kicks and triple jump. Here's a little skip. Can skip that section with a long jump. I actually meant to do a triple jump to grab the pole, but it's okay. I can just climb up here instead. This part is actually much easier than it looks, these spinning platforms. It's pretty easy to time this. You can dive against the wind just to save a bit of time, but I got greedy and I went for a second one too early. And here we go, the final boss of the game. I like how he looks all rainbow for some reason. So I was a little late to grab him, so the fire still came out, but it's okay. Let's see if I can get all 3 throws. It's actually fairly difficult to do, to get all 3. Even speedrunners will mess these up. There's 2, and here's the hardest one. It's not really that much harder, but there's less places to grab him near the little blast zones. And I missed it. Let's see if I can get the rebound. 2 jumps. It's a little easier in the Mario cam to see. And boom, there we go. There is Mario 64, 70 stars completed. And I actually wasted a couple seconds here positioning my hand on the keyboard so I could press the A button and the stop timer button at the same time, so I wouldn't have to retime this. Kind of silly, but it worked out actually okay. There we go, 138.57. Decent run for what it was, for the kind of fun run aspect of it. I beat my goal of 145, but there were a lot of mistakes as well, and just because of the no planning that went into it, some of the routing decisions didn't always pay off. but overall it was really fun, and I'm glad I did this. So that pretty much wraps it up. I'll let the credits play if you want to watch them. Let me know if you enjoyed my commentary. I don't know how well it went. It was weird commentating something so long. I'm not used to doing that, but I don't know, it was really fun to do at least. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. And let me know if you want to see something like this again in the future. If I do something similar, I will put it at the top of the description so you can find it easily. And I will also put my Ocarina of Time playlist in the description as well, if you want to check out my speedruns of that game, which I took way more seriously. So that wraps it up for me. Definitely hit the like button if you enjoyed and sub if you haven't already. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram down below. Thank you all for watching.
Mario, the power of the stars is restored to the castle. And it's all thanks to you. Thank you, Mario. We have to do something special for you. Here we go! Listen, everybody. Let's bake a delicious cake for Mario. Mario!
Thank you so much for playing my game.